I saw a video of a woman giving a talk who is obviously an academic and historian who said that the world right now resembles the world before World War One and World War Two, and that we might escape that fate, but she didn't think it was really going to happen because there wasn't enough vision. There wasn't there weren't enough people who actually understood what was happening. That everything is framed in terms of the details of our present situation, and that is only part of the story. There is a pattern. There's a template that we are conforming to, that we are trapped in, that we don't recognize. The amount of corruption, the amount of nascent fascism in various governments, the amount of greed, the amount of graft, it's it's starting to come out, and we're starting to see it. But this is exactly what leads to these catastrophes. And right now, we have these huge weapons. We have these hydrogen and atom bombs. We have um, built up a huge arsenal that endangers the whole world if we use it. I saw another psychological piece on narcissists, and we do know that we have a narcissist in the White House. And they were saying that what they see happening is he's preparing the world for obliterating another culture with these huge bombs. Well, we can only hope that wiser souls will prevail, but we don't know that. We don't know how we even got into this situation where the worst of us is are in control of the levers of destruction. And the the powers that were put into the US Constitution to be able to avoid a situation like this, Congress is refusing to use. They will not confront the President of the United States, who is the most powerful person in the world. So it looks like the perfect storm. And we don't know what's going to happen. It's obvious that a lot of people in the United States are sensing danger, and they're sensing that the culture is not viable for them to live and raise children, or even retire and live safely. So they're all abandoning ship and looking for other countries to live in. And a lot of people are living pretty close to the bone. They are living on Social Security, and they're looking for inexpensive places, and there are very few that speak English, and they are at a time of their lives when they've had no experience with other cultures. They have no idea how difficult it is to adjust. And it's a pretty dicey situation. I don't know where it's going any more than you do, but I'm just laying out the lay of the land. This looks like something is in the offing. Something is going to happen. And if the situation can be defused and saved by rational people, it will be very unusual that usually humanity gets swept into these catastrophes blindly, not able to see what is actually happening in their own country, in their own lives, in people around them, because they can't see deeply enough into the psychology. They are they live within a certain vibration, and that heart and mind vibration doesn't let them see higher vibrations. They can use supposition, they can use their logic and their rationality and ask the question, is there a way to raise our consciousness and have a greater sense of solidarity, a greater sense of community with the world as a whole? Or are we going to go down the road of separateness and fear? And I wish I knew the answer. I think that, especially, this is something I've noticed about the US, even back in the 70s and 90s. I saw a completely different world as soon as I got out of the US. It's almost as if there was an information cap over the country. You couldn't really get the information about what the rest of the world was like, how it worked, how people thought. It was just, um, it was just excluded. And it takes, you can't just travel and and suddenly be enlightened. You actually have to go to another paradigm, another culture that has another way of seeing things and live there for a while. And would really help if you learn the language, because in that language, that different language, is a very different worldview. We need a different worldview. The worldview that Americans have is so hemmed in by certain limitations they they're not aware of, and maybe they can't be. Um, I think that I I don't know. Actually, I'm not going to say that. It could go either way. I'm not going to predict disaster. I'm not going to say we're all going to hell in a handbasket. I'm not going to say that because I do think there are plenty of intelligent Americans, and they are starting to wake up and realize we're in trouble. We actually are in bigger trouble than we have realized, and we've drifted into it over the years, over the decades. And here we are, and we have to look at our whole infrastructure, not just our politics, but how our education is run, how society operates, who enforces the laws, who writes the laws, what seems reasonable and logical to some people, and why falsehood and greed has taken over. Um, it's always been there, and there have been concerted efforts by some people to actually gain power, gain control, and they've managed to do it. And here we are. So it's a time for questioning, and it's a time for revising what we are as a people and how we see the world, how we see ourselves, and how we organize our country. And that's going to do it for tonight for me.